So Coach Hayes is on the video chat today. My podcast is full. Like I can't upload anymore. So I was like, we're going to do some video chats with coaches and upload these things to YouTube.
This is the first for you too.
Yeah, I did put up one this morning, and I was like, well, I mean, YouTube's something I guess we're all on now. So, yeah, Coach, just give the listener a little bit about yourself and where you coach and what you're all about.
I coach at North Marion High School, which is in North Central West Virginia. We're kind of a unique situation because we are a consolidated school. So we're about a 40-year-old school right now, but we're a consolidated school made up of really four traditional powerhouses, really in single A, and they combined them in the 80s. But what makes us unique is our middle school program is still four different schools. So getting guys on board sometimes is a little bit of a challenge. Because we don't have an opportunity to get our junior high kids in the weight room at all because of dismissal times and whatnot. So they never meet our guys until June. So we kind of have to hit the ground running in terms of that stuff goes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh no, and you guys are consolidated from like really good programs, right?
Yeah. We were. They're actually, sports writers are getting as hard up as the rest of them. They're actually doing some specials in the paper right now. On Manikin's dynasty, Manikin High School at the closing at the consolidation, Manikin was on. They won state titles in 76 and 77, and were both undefeated. I think they only lost one game in 78. They only lost one game in 76. So they were like two games in 78. So they were like 45-5 before closure, and then of course the Monongah teams back with Kerry Mulberry and Nick Saban and all those guys. In the early 70s to late 60s, I think they won 3 or 4 titles in there. So I want to say, off the top of my head, there's like 7 or 8 state titles of the 4 consolidated schools before North Marion. And then, of course, North Marion was started in 79 with kind of a disappointing 5-4 season. And then what really kind of gelled our consolidation was we won a state championship in 1980 with an undefeated season. We won another one in 1981. Rich Rodriguez and those guys were on those teams. 82 might have been the most talented team in the history of our school, and they finished runners-up. So, like I said, football kind of got our school going. So it makes it really important. We're really lucky to still coach and play in an area where football so matters.
Yeah, your facilities, from what you've shown me, are just amazing. They're unreal, Coach.
Well, that's a funny story too, because North Marion was built, nobody voted for the bond because they were all really content with their small schools. So we got no SBA money. So all of our athletic facilities, as they were put in, were done completely by our community. Now, obviously, like our turf project now, but our stadium, we didn't have a home stadium until 1986. So we played 5 seasons of Thursday night games at East West Stadium. But community members every Saturday and Sunday would get together, cut trees, run dozers. The pipes that built our stadium were donated from local coal mines. It was pretty much just a community effort. And then once that got done, they turned around and did the same thing for the baseball field. Our track now started out as an Army Corps of Engineers, came in, made us a practice football field. And like I said, now we're starting to get some money through the county. And they've done a great job of updating stuff. But we've really always had a lot of community support, which is outstanding. We're able to do a lot of different things. Our weight room might not be the size that I'd like, but we were able to upgrade it a couple of years ago through the help of our alumni, and same with like our meeting rooms and things like that.
That's awesome, Coach. Talk about like your background. Like where you obviously played at North Marion, but how did you become the head coach and go through that?
It's kind of a funny story. I guess I got the head coaching job at North Marion because nobody else really wanted it, for lack of a better term. Like I said, North Marion was really founded on really good, successful football programs. And then in '91, Coach Michael, who our field's named after, he's kind of a local legend. He retired. He left. He actually was in Desert Storm as an Army Reserve, and he left and gave up football when he came back. And we had our first ever losing season in '91. So we were 12 years before we had a losing season. And we had a lot of success through the '90s, won another state title, and then. I obviously, like I said, I played there in the early 2000s, 2000, 2001, 2002, and was a starter. I was an average player. I think I was an all-league player as a senior, but that's about as good as it got. I think that's a really trade a lot of great high school coaches, though, I think, weren't the stars on their teams, because I had to learn to play a lot of different positions, which kind of made me fall in love with the game. My dad was a junior high coach in the area. He retired last year. He had 42 years of coaching experience. So, he's been junior high all the way through. So I always knew I wanted to coach. Right after I graduated, and I was really into high school wrestling. And I was better at that, to be honest. But I lost in the state championship, kind of left a bitter taste in my mouth, and I decided I didn't want to wrestle in college. So I walked on at Fairmont State, played a year there. And I had a good time. I had a great experience, but I knew what I wanted to do, and I didn't want to put it off for 3 more years to play. So I got involved in the junior high program with my father first. And then the next year I started into the high school program, which is just kind of an assistant. I was a junior in college and just kind of helping out. Then my last year of college, in my first year out of college, I was the head freshman coach. And those two just happened to be the worst seasons in the history of North Marion High School football. We were 0-10 my first year as an assistant. We were 0-10 my first year as a freshman coach. We were 1-9 my second year as a freshman coach. We won on a missed extra point, and they let off fireworks. I mean, we hit the bottom of the barrel, man. 1-29. Coach White decided to hang it up, and I think there was 3 guys applied for the job. I was only 24, so I didn't really have great expectations, but I really sold out for it because I knew it was kind of now or never. And like I said, I was fortunate enough to get the job, and we've had some ups and downs along the way for sure. I tell everybody when I speak at a clinic or whatever that the only thing that really qualifies me is I figured out a lot of stuff that doesn't work. We went through a 1-9 season where it was just miserable, and it felt like I was in the office with the principal over some kind of complaint every week. We went 7-3 last year and lost to nobody but playoff teams and really good football teams. So, like I said, we've kind of got going in the right direction, but it's not exactly where we want it yet, obviously. But that's what kind of makes the beauty of the journey, I think.
Yeah, Coach, and we talked on Twitter before we ever met in person, and I have a very similar story. You're going 0-10, and then getting a little better as we go. Haven't had the 7-3 yet. We're trying to get there. Yeah. But Coach, talk about your culture, because that's something that. Like, your Twitter game is excellent, by the way.
I dive off a little bit. I need to get a little better, but my kids aren't as much on Twitter now, so it kind of defeats the purpose, I think. But
yeah. But talk about, like, I mean, I think we said before when we were just talking before we started recording, I think you're like the PJ Fleck of high school football. So talk about, like, your culture that you've built at North Marion.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because that's somebody in the college game that I really do look up to. Because I think not only is he the culture guru, but he's also a really underrated football coach. The thing, I mean, we've always essentially stuck to the same type of core values that we've always had. And we just have a unique way of kind of sitting home. I think George Washington Carver said, do common things in an uncommon way, and you command the world. And we try to do that. So we make things fun. We make things interesting, while everything for us revolves around like 4 or 5 core values. Things like effort, which is something we got to get a lot better at. We just had a Zoom session the other day with my coaching staff and watched some film, and it's amazing. A lot of the things that we got to get better at is just effort. And so getting guys to play as hard as they can, that's a way bigger challenge, I think, than it used to be. We've been able to get some really good players. That's obviously the key ingredient, but we got to get them to play hard. We got to get them to play for each other, which is usually the harder thing. And I think a lot of other sports are missing the boat. I think sometimes it means time away from each other. Now, I'm not all about this kind of time away from each other. I miss my dudes. But we want football season to be the most exciting time of the year for them. And I think we do a great job of that. We do things like our guys know there's 4 weeks out of the year that we ain't going to talk. We ain't going to touch them. We ain't going to contact them. They're still going to hang out together. But the week before our season, we do nothing. I take that back. We have a team trip. 1 year we went whitewater rafting. 1 year we went paintballing. 1 year we went to the Hall of Fame. 1 year we went to Ohio State and watched their Friday Night Lights camp. But just things like that. We're a very relationship driven team. And I think obviously, like, our pull the sled is kind of what got things going, and that was all based on a John Gordon book, The Energy Bus, and it was just kind of we loosely grasped those things, changed them to fit our mascot, our school, and our culture. And our guys really bought into that. And like I said, every year we have a different, so to speak, catchphrase. But those core values, loving each other, serving the community. It's amazing how many times those things come up. I mean, maybe the biggest was, what was it, about 5 or 6 years ago, we had the big flood in Manatee, and a lot of people lost everything, and our guys were the first ones that ran into the fire. I mean, we had 3 crews of 12 guys apiece just going through, people had lost everything. And we're crawling around in their basement, cleaning stuff out for them. And I think we just get the community behind us a lot by doing that kind of stuff.
That's awesome, Coach. You said do, common things. What was the exact quote?
Do common things in an uncommon way, and you command the respect of the world.
That's it. That's awesome. That's the ticket to high school football, I think.
Yeah, I always really looked up to those guys at Mingo. I mean, me and Joey have kind of become really good friends. But I wish I had a Wes Wilson around here to do all the stuff for us that he does for them. But they kind of grab the bull by the horns as far as making it just exciting, making it something fun and enjoyable. Because I mean, I say when we played, and I talk about it like I'm super old. I guess I'm not. But you played for the love of the game. Now, if kids don't really like the guy with the whistle around his neck, and they don't know that he'll go to bat for them, they just won't even give it a try. And you still lose some battles. I mean, we lose kids every year. We've lost 3 or 4 guys that I thought were going to be really good players. Just decided it wasn't for them. It was too much time or whatever. But like I said, that's no reason to stop fighting the war.
Yeah, just keep going and trying to make your program the best that it can be. So, Coach, kind of just transitioning. Talk about your offensive philosophy, what y'all do. We've talked a little bit about this, but just kind of go into that.
Well, first of all, I will never profess to be an offensive guru by any means. I'll never profess to be a defensive guru. But we really base everything around 3 concepts offensively. And when I say concepts, I don't mean plays. We want to play fast. And I know that's kind of cliche. Everybody says they want to play fast. We don't want to substitute poor performance for good speed. But at the same time, we want to make people uncomfortable. Our guys get to the point. We practice. I mean, I don't know how you are, but we practice with music on loud to where we can't hardly hear ourselves think. We practice with music on. There's people around the field. It's like a 3-ring circus out there, and they're used to organized chaos. So when we try to slow things down and huddle in practice, it's ugly. It's ugly football because they're not comfortable with it. So we want to play fast. We want to take advantage of all aspects of the field. So throughout the course of the game, we'll take a lot of vertical shots. We'll throw 4 verts. We'll sprint to the 3-level flood and throw the deep one if we like our matchups. We'll throw the now screens and the stand-up screens and the jailbreak screens outside to get the ball on the perimeter fast. In the run game, we call it outside zone, but we run outside zone a variety of different ways, and I don't know that it's the true outside zone. We started running a little bit of stretch, true outside zone with our running back. But what we do is almost like fly sweep without pullers. We just rip, reach, overtake, and take off to stretch the field with the run game. But we want to be able to spread the ball out. We want to be able to get the ball in all different places of space. And the one thing that I think gave us our identity this year that we're going to continue to grow off of is placing players in run-pass conflicts. I hate watching college game right now because everything is an RPO, even if it's play-action pass with their back to the defense. But we started to get into the RPO game probably 2 years ago, and then we started kind of complicating it a little bit this year and really getting into where our quarterback felt like – I think a lot of people try to take advantage of the numbers game offensively by looking at it in the box. We let our quarterback do that thinking for us. So we'll run inside zone, and his eyes are on an outside linebacker. And if that outside linebacker tries to squeeze the run, we get it out there in space now because that's now where our leverage is, where our advantage is. And so that's something that's made us very dangerous. It also helped that last year we probably had the most athletic group of receivers that we've had in my 11 years at North Marion. So it'll be a little bit of a difficult task to replace some of them. We still return 2, and we're going to be replacing the quarterback too. But like I said, we practice. Our 2Q gets as many reps as our 1Q. Our 2 running back gets as many reps as our 1 running back. And that's one thing I think that makes us really unique. And that's kind of the key to us being able to sustain is we coach our JV backups the same way that we coach the guys that are starting on Friday night. They get the same number of reps. They get the same amount of coach's attention. Like I said, some might say that'll hold us up from ever topping the mountain, but it'll keep from the peaks and the valleys too. So we're able to sustain, I think, because of that.
That's awesome, Coach. I mean, the RPO game, the stretch, the inside zone. That's majority of college football. It's really cool to hear that you're able to do that at the high school level.
Yeah, like I said, I know some people are getting away from it just because it does put a lot on your quarterback. But like I said, we feel good about it as long as it's something that we can teach and we can rep. That's something. That's the biggest thing, I think. Looking at it is, you have to do, number one, you got to coach what you know, and if you don't know it, go learn it. But number two, it's not always about what you're doing. I think that was a mistake I made as a young coach a lot, was trying to out-X and out people. But I've seen Bridgeport win the state championship this year in Stick Eye, and Fairmont Senior won the year before that with spread. You've seen wing T teams win it. You've seen 4-down teams, 3 sacks, 3 4s. It's more about how they play and the fundamentals of the game than it is about what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right, Coach. The X's and O's are something, one thing, but your ability to execute is really what helps you win. And plus your players, obviously. That's cool.
Absolutely. I think Jimmy's and Joe's is always the main ingredient. But like I said, it's all about, to me, practice and how we can practice things in all aspects, in special teams as well as defensively and especially offensively. We have to, and that's one thing, like in the RPO game, we got better as the year went on because we found our identity, and then we started finding ways to teach that part of the game without giving them 11 players on the field. We found ways to make one guy. I mean, we had a defender, a receiver, and the quarterback running back, and he's just reading that defender and getting it out at reps. And the more you do something, the better you are at it, I think.
Mm. What do you do? I guess I had this conversation with Ben Neal yesterday. Like, if people just lock you up, cover one, like, how does that change your approach?
Well, I mean, number one, we're still going to try to beat them with our dude. Right now we have one receiver that's really good. So if you play us one-on-one, we feel like however you play him, we have answers. Whether that means we got to put him on the backside of trips and give him an X option route and let him make the decision and play some backyard football. That's the first thing. The second thing is, obviously, we're still going to handle the guys in the box. We're still a zone team, so we still, even if you're playing us cover one, we'll say cover zero gets a little bit dicey. Cover zero to me, cover zero, you better be able to win a one-on-one matchup, run speed option, something like that, or you're in trouble. If somebody just lines up in bare front and cover zero, and their dudes are better than your dudes, you're in trouble. It's a long night. But we got to be able to block at the point of attack. Like I said, we still leave that backside in free on all of our zone stuff. If we can establish zone, then one of the best things that we've done traditionally through the years, with a big one, with a little guy that could fly, and now with a long, tall guy that threw it, is we've been able to run quarterback power and quarterback counter game. So if we can get you moving laterally, we feel like that really opens the counter game. Like you said, if you got 4 dudes that can lock up our 4 dudes, that makes it a little more difficult. Unless you can get the running back involved in the pass game, then that might equate things a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. The quarterback run game is the ticket to all this thing.
It's a great equalizer.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're in cover zero, I can run the quarterback. I still have a blocker.
Right.
That's awesome. So talk about transition. Talk about your defense philosophy, what you want to do there. That's kind of your
it. Well, I didn't coordinate this year, and that was a big change for me. 3 years ago, no, not 3, about 5 years ago, I had my offensive coordinator at the time hang it up after June, and I just didn't want to put that on anybody's plate. So I called both for a year, and that was a nightmare. That was go figure. That was the 1-9 year. But that's too much for anybody. But I didn't want to put any assistant coach on that predicament. I didn't coordinate the defense this year, but I have for 10 years previous. So Coach Harbert and I have worked together for 8 of my 10 years prior to this year. He's a great guy, great coach. He's a basketball coach, baseball coach. He coaches it all. He just likes coaching kids. So I did turn that over to him, but we still operate pretty much with the same fundamentals. We've been an odd stack. I think you got to coach to the kids that you have. There's been years that we have no size whatsoever, and I just feel like we have to create some chaos by being in an odd stack and sending two every down. But we're essentially a 4-down front. We play what I call front simplicity and coverage multiplicity, because on the front end, we're always an over and under of some sort. We at times will be double threes, because I think especially if you're playing a true spread team, the A gap doesn't get attacked much. But we're a 3 and a 1 or 1 and 3, and our front doesn't change much. I mean, we even went this year to give us a tight end, and we left our end in a 5 rather than moving him into a 7, because we were just like, that's just one more thing for him to think about. And players that are thinking don't play as fast. But on the back end, we are a little more complicated. And I say complicated. I think it's really simple. I think we've made it really simple. I mean, my first couple of years there, I felt like we had to speak some kind of code language, like we were on walkie-talkies or something, and we were colors and all this different stuff. Now we're pretty simplistic in terminology-wise, but we'll start out as a cover 3 team, but obviously we see the Fairmont seniors of the world that are going to scorch you with 4 berths. So we start out in cover 3, then we morph into cover 1. We do play a lot of quarters, especially against 3-by-1. And then about 3 years ago, we really got into the pattern match game. And I've never been able to teach high school kids rip, liz, match stuff like what they say. We're just pretty much basic palm stuff, reading the release of number 2. But what makes us a little bit different, I think, and I know people do this, but when we get 3-by-1, we play it 3 different ways, and they all look the same from the shell. And I think that's the thing. That's where I've really changed a lot and evolved as the years went on. Is our defense used to look different every snap. Now it always looks the same, but what you see is never what you get. We always look like we're playing quarters into the 3-by-side, and we're not. We'll play quarters, then we'll play 2 reading number 2, locking number 3, then we'll play 2 reading number 3, locking number 1, and essentially our leverage and our depth and everything is all within. I mean, you would have to get on film to really dictate and see where we're different, which makes it pretty unique and makes it a little harder to handle, I think.
Yeah, I mean you were talking about 4-2-5, the pattern match stuff, and what do you like? How do you practice that? Because I know that can be a little hairy.
It's tricky. Everything's half shell for us. We rarely get the full shell of the defense on the field just because of numbers. I mean, we'll start out. Obviously, we start out and teach our man principles first, and because I think you got to decide. And I know obviously you're probably leaning towards the man way. Coach Harbert, especially this year, I've always taught zone first and then morphed into man from there. And Coach Harbert, like I said, with the basketball background, was like everything is man-based, even in zone coverage. So why don't we start out in cover 1 and cover 0, and then work our way into the zone stuff, which is what we did this year, and they did take it a lot better. To me, with the pattern match stuff, the biggest thing is you have to figure out and be really defined and sure with it of what you're going to define as a vertical out of number 2. Whether you're counting steps, whether it's a defined yard marker, whether it's, because it changes, it does. And we used to just say when you feel uncomfortable. But then, like I said, then it gets a little tricky because some guys' comfort level is way more than mine is. They're comfortable all the way till the dude's running right past them. We used to say 5 yards. And then what we'd find was, and we got to do a better job of this in practice, we always sit in the ball on a yard mark. So then you put the ball in a game, lands on the 37, and they're either going to go at 8 yards or at 3 yards. Yeah. So we got to do a better job of that. But we started counting steps of number 2, and just saying if he's 3 steps pushing vertical, then you're staying and you're locking on. If he's on the ball. If he's off the ball, it becomes 4. And I know you're similar. We've talked about man coverage for you. You're pressing if they're on and off if they're off, right?
Yeah, I mean we've played more zone at Nitro than we ever played it.
Really?
But that's just kind of more of our. It fit us a little better. Yeah, but now we still play a lot of man. I mean, a ton of man pressure. We'll even show like 6-man pressure stuff. Keep cover 0, but then we'll have like a bunch of rat droppers underneath and rush. Yeah. So even rush 3 at sometimes. So that's That's something because we see a lot of like 1, 2, 3 balls out.
Yeah.
Or screen. So like your pass rush a lot of times gets negated because he's just going to hit his back foot's going to get stuck in the ground and he's just going to chuck it.
When Fairmont Senior, and Gage does a really nice job of it too, but when Fairmont Senior had Connor Neal, it was like, man, we can't get to this guy. Obviously the front's really good, but we're blitzing off the edge and he'd just see it and fall out. And when they're content to take those 5 yards and that becomes their running game, I think defensively that makes it really difficult.
Yeah, we don't play Fairmont Senior. Mingo's a little bit like that. With Joey was like that. Last year we tried to play a lot of man and bring pressure, make him uncomfortable, and we had some good shots to quarterback. We just didn't take them. Their quarterback's a big old joker. It looked like a day.
When we played poker.
Yeah, I mean he looked like he was just like throwing our guys off like rag dolls when he looks at him.
I mean that's again, you said earlier, the quarterback run game is what equates everything for us in that game. Man, Gage is the X factor of the flags. But we see, I think you're similar in the Cardinal, but we see such a vast array of scheme that you have to be really simplistic in your approach to things so that you can evolve and you can kind of manipulate as you go. I mean, we see a playoff team in Lewis was a wing T. A state championship team in Bridgeport was a stick I when we played them. They were a little bit different than that earlier. Playoff semifinal team, Fairmont Senior, was spread, throwing it all over the place. And then we go to Poca, and they're kind of unique in their approach as well. They're a little more pro-type based. So you see so much that I think you have to be adaptable.
Yeah, I talk about it with our guys all the time. Like, we'll go from seeing – I mean, Hoover – I'm guessing he's not going to be triple anymore with Coach Fields.
I'm going to guess no.
But you'd go from, Poca's pro to St. Albans, who's like gun triple-ish. Then you have Hoover's like under center triple. Then you go to Chapmanville, who's spread. And it's just and Wayne's like wing T. Like you were saying, like it's all over the place.
Yeah. And like I said, when it's like that, it's really hard to just marry something. You know what I mean? I mean, I think everybody has the tendency of, and we do a lot better job than we did when I was an assistant. Everybody has a tendency of all camp, all you do is defend yourself. So when we get teams that line up like we do, we seem to be really comfortable. We did change that up a little bit. We started even going scout stuff against random formations in June, so that we saw just alignment. I mean, it might be a brief period, like, hey guys, today everything's going to be win T. And it might be a 2-day thing like that defensively. But like I said, so for us, everything comes around how you practice it.
Yeah, and, for us, like you were talking about practicing different things, like our offense every year here, at least at Nitro, kind of molds and changes a little bit. We have one feeder and, our roster's heavy on transfers. We get some, we lose some. But our defense,
we like I said, they come from a different. We have one feeder program, which is weird. I mean, it's great for us that we are able to do it because none of our schools would be able to put a football team on the field.
Okay.
But we have all 4 of them come together. Now, the great part of that is they run through my equipment room. They're coached by my former players, and you do exactly what we ask them to do. But you're exactly right. We kind of started. I know my offensive coordinator, Coach Yoho, was a little disappointed just in the way that we started because it took us 4 weeks to figure out exactly what we were going to be offensively. You know what I mean? Like we played Fairmont Senior, we were under center 50-60% of the time. We were running outside zone. We were running from a toss sweep setting. We were running a lot of boot action stuff. There was very little RPO game at all. And then you fast forward 4 weeks and we're playing Bridgeport and they end up winning it and we played them down to the wire. There was a 4th down and 4 play that we drop a RPO route, and if we convert that, we might go to overtime play. So I mean, like I said, we kind of took a little while to find our own. We think we got a little better grasp of it coming into this year because we do return a lot up front. Pretty much everybody except for one up front. Our quarterback, obviously, everybody's usually concerned with that, but he's a good kid. He's gonna figure it out. He'll be fine. Receiver wise, that's where we're gonna have to kind of experience a little bit of transition. But we do have a guy that plays running back for us that'll go out there and play a little bit as well. And like I said, our best statistical guy at receiver, Tariq, he's back for 2 more years. So that's always nice to have somebody out there that you feel like you can win a lot of one-on-ones with.
Yeah, and like in high school, our roster could turn over a pretty good amount every year, right? Guys either graduate or transfer out, and then the guys transfer in, and then especially in Kanawha Valley, it's like
your transfer game's a lot better. They're a lot different than mine. Usually, what we get, and what we don't, we don't. We got to recruit our building a lot, but which is tough. But
yeah, no doubt.
I mean, that's one of the hardest because you get we battle. I mean, more than I know, a lot of people are still battling the single sport kids. We do a little bit. We battle right now, kids like that. Their recreational activities, they just don't want to take up that much time football wise because they're really into motocross or they're really into something like that. So like I said, it's always a little bit of a battle. I love to get kids that are in another sport that don't play football because I know they understand commitment and coming to practice every day and all that stuff. But it isn't always optimal.
Yeah, you're right, Coach. I hear you on that. Talk about your special teams, how that goes with all of this. So, how does that all go together, and what's your philosophy on
hand in hand? Yeah, like I said, we practice as organized chaos pretty much. Now, that was one nice thing this year behind me not being the defensive coordinator is I did everything special teams wise.
Okay.
And one thing, Urban Meyer talks about this a lot when he was at Ohio State. The one thing that I noticed that I loved, and that way I'll probably not be a coordinator again unless something happens, is special teams becomes a lot more serious when the head guy's in charge of it. We went from guys that would come, we drive and score a touchdown on offense, and they'd come off the field and be like, "Get me somebody for kickoff."
Yeah.
To now they know they got to tell me that, and they're like, "Hey, get somebody on the first series of defense because I got to run down the field on kickoff."
Yeah.
They know it's kind of non-negotiable. We used to be like 2 deep depth chart on every spot on special teams and whatnot. We got a backup for every spot, and they play right side, left side. It's all the same. We got 16 guys that are on group one kickoff, group one kick punt, and so on and so forth. Special teams for us, we call it special forces because we want to give them a special identity. We actually went as far as having Navy, Army, Marines, Air Force as named them that way, Coast Guard. But same boat. I think if you're going to be an attacking offense and you're going to play fast and be attacking defensively and offensively, you got to do the same special teams wise, which sometimes will bite you. But the thing that we did that changed us a little bit special teams this year that I love that we're going to continue to do is we changed some stuff week to week. And I stole this from Eddie when he was at Lewis County and Buchanan before that. We punt, and our essential punt responsibilities are the same every week. They don't change. We teach fundamentals one day, like on Monday practice, we teach fundamentals. Our JV guys go through fundamental special teams before they go get dressed for the game, before they go eat, before they leave. So we do fundamental special teams once a week. We rep every special teams in what we call sudden transition period every week, sometimes multiple times. But we change the window dressing. We might add motion to our punt. And every week we have a fake. And we'll fake. I mean, my goal is usually to fake 6 a year, punt-wise.
Okay.
I try to fake one every other game, and my thought process behind that is even if we don't fake one on you, you saw it on film and you got to prepare for it.
Yeah.
And if we do fake it on you, newsflash, whatever we used as a fake that week went to the back of the toolbox, right back into the toolbox, and we got another one in this week. So we might add motion, we might add this and that, but leverage, landmarks, all that stuff never changes. That's punt, that's kick. We can kick the ball from the middle of the field, pin and left hash, pin and left, right hash, pin and left. Typically for us, we don't have a real strong soccer program, so we don't have a real great kicker that puts it in the end zone, so we got to be real strategic in where we place the ball on kickoff. Same goes with kick return. At times we'll be 5-2-2-2, at times we'll be 5-3-3, at times we'll be 5-4-2. But again, the responsibilities are always staying the same. They're a guy that they have to block, so to speak. Our kickoff team, our kick return's a little unique in terms of probably letting the cat out of the bag. I don't know how many guys we play listen to you or not, but we always have a return side And if you kick it, we call it the equator. If you kick it on that side of the equator, then we got a wheel set up and we're taking it. I've always found it really complicated to say we're going to wheel this thing and we don't know whether we're going to wheel it right or left. Mm-hmm. Or we're going to wheel this thing right and it doesn't matter if they kick it clear over on the left numbers, we're still going to try to get it there.
Right.
So we have a built-in what we call push call. So if it's kicked opposite of where we have the return called, our returners will scream push, push, push. We fall back into like inside return and we just return the sucker up the middle and try to get what we can get.
Sure.
But if you kick it into where we think you're going to, then we got a chance to set one up and go.
Okay.
Punt return, again, goes back to that attack philosophy. We rush every punt. And we probably get 3 or 4 roughings every year, and that's fine. There's times that we'll call return safe, but we attack every punt. And the reason being, we don't block a ton. I mean, we probably block 3 a year on average throughout the last 5. But what we do is we change the flight pattern of the ball because that punter knows it's going to get out quick. Mm-hmm. And what it also does is for our punter, they get used to getting out quick because our punter is never on punt return no matter what. Okay. So he gets to punt against our best, and we're trying to block that sucker. So he gets used to getting it out quickly. Now, we started tinkering, and I'm going to get a little more into this, of rushing one side and setting up a wall to the other. And that's that. We got a couple. We got one return and one block off of that look this year. Because, like I said, if we're falling into a wall on the side that you punt it to, it can be troublesome. But again, it all stems back to attack. We want to be full speed. And I think I said it earlier, but a player that's confused plays slow. So we want to make everything simple. We might change the window dressing, the lineup, the motion, whatever. But everything's going to be fast and everything's going to be on the attack.
That's awesome, Coach. That fits into your course philosophy, and I think that's the biggest thing. To just know who you want to be and go do it.
Right. Well, I think your O coordinator and D coordinator, whether it's a head coach or whatever, they have to align. We're a really fortunate situation, and this really played a huge factor for it. Of the guy that's my defensive coordinator. This might sound crazy. The guy that's my defensive coordinator before this year wasn't a position coach on defense for 3 years. He was the offensive line coach. He was like our top assistant on offense, and he and Coach Yoho feed off of each other so well, and they work together so well, that I felt like by flipping him, which he coached defense before, and when he played, he was a defensive player. Never played O-line in his life, but really like grasped the concepts that we were doing. So when we flipped him over to defense, he took that same attacking, play fast, relentless, don't be afraid to make a mistake because we're not going to rip into you unless it's an effort mistake. Mm-hmm. He takes that same philosophy over to the defensive side of the ball. So now it's consistency. And use parenting for an example. A kid will figure out in a hurry which parent is the disciplinarian and which one's the pushover.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll take advantage of that. So if you have an offensive coordinator and a defensive coordinator that are opposite ends of the spectrum, it's going to work out the exact same way. So like I said, those guys, while they're very different in their approach, Coach Harbert's a big yeller, screamer. Coach Yoho's got his readers on down to his nose. I was telling him, he reminds me of Tom Landry. Like everything I've ever read and heard about Tom Landry is Coach Yoho. Like we're intricate and everything like that. They're very different in their approach, but they coach the same way. So we remain some continuity from each side of the ball, and then they flip over to me. And obviously, everything in the football culture should be a trickle down from the head coach. So special teams wise, they get more of the same. Now they can get a little dabble of your personality, but it's consistent.
Awesome. That's awesome, Coach. As we land this thing, talk about what's some advice for a young coach who would maybe steps into something that you stepped into, like you're a young guy becoming a head coach. Like what's some advice that you wish you knew back then?
Well, the first, there's about 2 or 3 things that really stick out. The first one is, and I said it earlier, at 24 years old, I thought playing football on Friday night was the last guy with the chalk. And I felt like I could outsmart everybody like it was playing chess. And it's not. At the end of the day, it's all about how you execute things, mm-hmm. which kind of turns into the second thing, practice. And I've said it a lot throughout the course of this. How you structure your practice is all that matters. As long as your scheme is sound. Obviously, we're not talking about doing anything crazy stupid, but as long as your scheme is sound, if you can find ways to practice it, to get all the mental murkiness, so to speak, and make it completely mentally clear as to what their job is on any given play, any given alignment, any given formation, whatever the case may be. If you can find a way to practice it that way, and then when you know you're kind of making a turn, for us, the peak of the learning curve, so to speak, is when you start seeing players teaching other players.
Yeah.
And we talk about service. That's another one of our core values, is service. Not only serving our community, but serving the younger guys. I know a lot of places it's like, seniors do everything. Seniors eat first. Seniors our linemen eat first for everything, because those are the guys that are servants of the team. And they eat first for everything. Our seniors have a freshman that they're in charge of, and they're supposed to make sure he gets where he's supposed to be in class. They're supposed to make sure he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. Now, we're a small enough school still to where most of our seniors know all the teachers. So they'll say, like, hey, is Joe being okay in class? Some of them don't always get the easiest of draws, so to speak, with the freshmen, but that's how we time it up. Something we were fortunate enough to do this year was we did our first week of camp was camp. We stayed at the 4-H camp that was local, and man, that really built on that family philosophy that we preach. It kind of beat it home. It was a great experience. It was awesome as an adult to sit back and watch. The last day we were there, we had a horrible storm that knocked the electric out of the whole camp. So you're in rustic cabins, and you don't even have electric now. And I had to go to a meeting for our conference. And when I came back, our kids had sat down, organized, and structured out a beach volleyball game. They were all outside playing beach volleyball. Every kid got picked. Like, we had cornhole tournament through the week. We had coaches that were captains. Every team had to sleep together. I mean, like, cabin together and room up together. And I thought, when we went to Poca, you never know why things happen the way that when we went to Poca and we stayed in a hotel the night before, we didn't win the game. But like, the way we behaved, we had no kid. I mean, this is no joke. I know. I've had the wool pulled over my eyes before. At 11 o'clock, I went through. There wasn't a single light on. There wasn't a single voice being made, because it was just kind of business as usual. You know what I mean? I did let them bunk up there with guys that, like, stayed with starters, but but like I said, it all kind of tied together. So it's all about practicing, and then the last one kind of goes hand in hand with, I think we've sometimes, and hopefully newer generation coaches are getting better at this. And I'm not talking bad about the people that coached me, but we always kind of coached the way that we were coached. And I think we've found better ways to do things sometimes. In our building right now, and I can say this because I know he doesn't even know how to turn a computer on to watch YouTube. Our baseball coach is a year from retirement, and he gives me crap all the time about, like, playing music at practice. And, like, our guys will come, like, it's nothing for a kid to swing by not now, but it's nothing for a kid to swing by the house. They all know my daughter by first name. Like, my wife teaches in the building. They stop and see her, and she's always got food in her classroom. Just really loose atmosphere. And he's 64. That's not how he coaches. That's not how he was coached. And I always give him a hard time. And I'm like, we have this philosophy, Vic. If people aren't miserable, you actually get more out of them. When our kids come in and they're like, hey, because sometimes, like, music-wise, Tom Petty passed away 2 years ago, I think. We had a Tom Petty tribute day, and we listened to nothing but Tom Petty all day at practice. Michael Jackson one day, and different stuff like that. But you kind of keep them on their toes that way. We try to open up practice, something I stole from Coach Brown when I went down and watched them practice. We open up practice with some form of a competition every day. It might be a one-on-one quarterback receiver, and they vote it out. So, like, if Tariq's playing offense, my starting quarterback's throwing in the ball, and Ethan Raines, who graduated last year, is playing corner against him. That's number one against number one. Quarterback's got 3 options of routes to throw, and the rest of our team get on that sideline. If you think Tariq's going to catch this one, get on that sideline. If you think he's going to get locked down, and losing team's got 10 up downs. And that's just something like I said, we'll get kind of the juices flowing a little bit, because they'll get excited over, like, their buddy winning a one-on-one or some situation like that. So we set up board drills and start practice off that way, one-on-one. We set up all kinds of different stuff.
That's awesome, Coach. You got it going, man. That's what's up. I really like your LSU Tigers banner.
Well, I think I can pick up this was my daughter's room. And my wife actually just painted it for me because, like I said, she's a godsend. But that's my thing. I get banners everywhere I go for practice.
Okay.
So through the years, we got quite a collection. I haven't made it to Minnesota yet, but I actually went to Western Michigan his last year at Western Michigan because I was like, he ain't going to be here long and he might move west. So like I said, that's kind of one of my things. So she made this room in for me, and it's kind of come in handy now while we're quarantined.
Yeah. We're all just hanging out by ourselves and our families.
Exactly.
Wow. Coach, thank you for coming on this thing, man. And I'll get this up soon on YouTube, man. Appreciate you.
I appreciate it. Thanks for everything you do. This stuff's great.
Awesome, man. Awesome. I'll put this up shortly.